whatever commentary.
Yeah, thank you, Barry. Hi, Chief.
Good evening. I'm just gonna go black and quiet here.
You don't have to do that until we go live. It's kind of nice to see everybody. This is like our social time.
You've only got a minute left though, Val.
Don't go black and quiet, and then you say he should go live. Somebody will have some sort of negative commentary about it all.
Well, that was another thing that I really miss about meetings in person is the camaraderie, and it's not the same.
It's not the same.
The jokes beforehand, it's nice.
I know. Hi, Superintendent. How are you, Ben? Can we hear you?
Now you can hear me.
Oh, great. Nice
Good
to
to
see
you.
you.
Thank you very much.
Jonathan's here. Jonathan, Michelle is going to be here.
Michelle Rogers.
You're
She's
muted.
in the attendees. She's raised her hand.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm moving her over right now. Val.
Okay, great.
Thank you. I'm gonna be quiet too.
And
Thank you for adding me in.
And who else is, let me just see who else is over on that side that should be brought in. Michelle.
When I'm sorry, am I still muted? When Brad joins, if you could just allow him to speak. I don't know if he has anything to say, but he might.
Okay, that's great.
I don't know. You also have Kathy Clancy and Melissa Texera Prince is on the attendees. I don't know if they should come over as well.
I think we'll let them stay as attendees.
Okay.
Do you want
Although
me to?
I'd love to have them on the screen, but we might have a lot going on tonight. So, okay.
Do you want me to test sharing before we go live, or should I wait?
Michelle, we're live.
We're live.
Oh, we are. I'm sorry. Okay.
Okay.
Then
so
I will
think
wait, and I'm sure that it will work.
Michelle, you have your documents to upload, correct?
To share.
I have a presentation to give. If that's what
Okay.
you're asking. Yeah.
Right. And so, so Sherry, can you give Michelle the authority to share?
Yeah.
Okay.
She's all set. When it's
Michelle,
her
you
turn.
comfortable with sharing?
Great. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So I think we're ready. I have 5:30, 5:31. So I'd like to open tonight's meeting of Planning and Development of Wednesday, May 5th, 2021. Wanted to let everybody know this is a remote meeting consistent with the governor's orders, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law and banning certain gatherings such as an in-person meeting of the Ordinance and Administration Standing Committees is not possible. This meeting will be conducted by remote participation. The public may not physically attend this meeting, but every effort will be made to allow the public to view and listen to the meeting in real time and participate when necessary. If you're calling in on a phone, you can press *9 to request to speak. If you're watching on a computer device, there's a raised hand button that you can tap or press to request to speak. Please use either of these options to be recognized to speak. So tonight, before we go through the agenda, I'd like to introduce who is here. For the P&D Standing Committee, we have Council Holgram and Council Pett. And we also have a couple of members of City Council. We have Jamie O'Hara and John McCarthy. And just make sure. We have Kathy Clancy and Melissa Texera Prince here on the school committee right now. They are, and for attendees, let me just see if we have anybody else.
Jonathan Pope.
Okay, yeah, I was going to get back to that. So now I'm back to the screen. So here on the screen is Superintendent Lummis, Ben Lummis. Welcome. We have School Committee Chair Jonathan Pope. Welcome. We have Michelle Rogers from Dorr and Whittier here. And we welcome you. And Greg Catamatori, our Planning Director, is on the call. And I think the only other person that I need to introduce right now is Sherry Carvelis, who
No,
is
You
our
also,
of committee.
sorry, you also have Chris Sicarenza, the assistant to the
Okay,
chief
thank you.
administrative officer.
We have Chris Sukaranza, and he was first on the call. How could I forget Chris? Welcome. So what I'm going to do is take an item just quickly that we're not going to cover, but I'd just like to note that RZ 2021-002, which is to amend GZO section 5.24, accessory in-law dwelling units and associated definition in section 6, definitions in accordance with GZO section 1.11.2A, will be continued until May 19th, 2021. So just want anybody who was on this call for that reason. Oh, and we're welcome the mayor, Safathi Romeo Taken is on the call. So thank you, Mayor. So the first order of business tonight is special council permit 2021-002 Webster Street, number 11, map 47, lot 13, GZO, section 3.1.6B, building heights in excess of 35 feet in the R20 low medium density residential district. And before I turn it over for the presentation, I would just like to tee this up for everybody. This is the first time that we're hearing this application for height. Specifically 3.1.6 special permit for building heights in excess of 3.2 limits, which under B is building heights in excess of 35 feet may be authorized by special permit issued by City Council. Said permit shall contain such conditions as the council deems necessary and shall only issue up to a written determination by the council, upon a written determination by the council that such increase in allowable heights is consistent with neighborhood character and will not substantially be detrimental to the neighborhood because of obstruction of views, overshadowing of other properties, impairment of utilities, and other adverse impacts. This particular application was signed off by the city clerk on April 26, 2021, after we received the plan for permitting and elevations, which was dated March 30th, 2021. The city council approved this plan for submission on April 27, 2021. Our building inspector and planning director both reviewed the plan that was submitted on April 21st, 2021. So those are the details. In terms of what we can look forward to tonight, tonight is going to be the initial presentation for City Council. And then we will be having a kind of a ad hoc site visit with members of the City Council to meet with a representative from Dore Whittier or Jonathan Pope to see the property. Most of us know exactly what the property looks like, but we thought that that would be helpful just to go and visualize. These meetings are not covered under open meetings, so they're just going to be one-on-one or maybe 2 or 3 on one. And there's no discussion at these meetings. And the only thing that we do is ask questions. And what will occur is all the questions will be accumulated, and we will be coming back here in 2 weeks. And at such time, we will answer all the questions in public meeting. And that's really important. And for members of the public that wish to submit their questions, you can either send them to any one of the 3 members of P&D, and they can represent and ask your questions on your behalf, or you can send them to Joanne Senos, JSENOS at gloucester-ma.gov, and submit them to her. So all questions on height only will be answered at next week's, 2 weeks from now, 2 weeks from tonight. So that's the expectation. So now we would like to open the floor to our applicant for a presentation, and I believe it's going to be Michelle Rogers. But Jonathan, if you'd like to do the introductions, and then as school committee chair, feel free. Can we hear you?
Well, Ben is the applicant, so I thought it'd be appropriate if he did the introductions, okay?
Excellent. Ben, we're so happy, Superintendent, we're so happy to have you here. So take it away. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Gilman. Thank you very much tonight. Councilor Pett, Councilor Holmgren also, so thank you. So what we have tonight, so I'll hand it off to the folks who are the experts in a moment, Doran Whittier, and they're being represented by Michelle Rogers tonight. But just as a sort of just an intro, as folks are familiar with, because the city council has obviously approved this project as well as the school committee. And of course, in the fall, the city of Gloucester came together to support the funding of the project. And now we're in the permitting process, which we're here tonight. You'll hear tonight just about a little bit more about the design of the building, and in certain areas we'll specifically address the issue about the height. And what you'll learn tonight is the height of this building, of this school building, which will serve our downtown and East Gloucester families, is very comparable to that of West Parish. And that when the city approved the building of that new school about maybe, I guess it was 5 years ago now, 6 years ago. And we hope that the subcommittee here will support this one as well. It is in line with the West Parish building. It does not obstruct views, and putting the technical pieces aside, it will be a fantastic it's a fantastic opportunity for the city to support our families, support our children, and build a modern educational school building that will serve our families for decades to come. And so there is one clarification that I'm going to ask Jonathan Pope to just clear up for the subcommittee. We happen to have a typo in our application, but it's a significant one. So I'm going to ask Jonathan Pope just to make that mistake on our part clear to the committee.
Okay, Jonathan?
Oh, thank you, Val. The typo, or this, it was probably just a Scribner mistake, is on page 24 in the packet. And it is in the second paragraph, and it's the second sentence of the second paragraph. And I'll read the whole second paragraph. Due to the topography of the site and neighborhood, the proposed building is within the average height of other buildings in the neighborhood. The proposed building, and this is where the typo is, it should say does not obstruct views, overshadow other properties, impair utilities, or create other adverse impacts on the neighborhood. What it says now is that it does.
Okay,
So the word not got left out. So I
Okay.
apologize for that. And we will resubmit that immediately
Great.
corrected.
great. If you could get that to the city clerk's office, that would be great. I see that this paragraph before that, it says does not. So I think it was just that one paragraph. So thank you for doing that. But for the record, we'd like you to update that. I appreciate you bringing that forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
It is a good example of how one word can completely change the meaning of a sentence here.
Right, thank you.
So I want to point that out to you. I'll hand it off now to Michelle Rogers from Doran Whittier, and she'll lead the presentation about the design of the building.
Great. Michelle, can we see you? And would you introduce yourself once again to the city of Gloucester? And I'd also like to mention right now that there is a quorum of the full city council. There are 5 members on the call. In addition to our subcommittee, Councilor McCarthy and Councilor O'Hara are on the call. So take it away, Michelle. Thank you.
Great, thank you. I am going to shut off my camera just because when I'm giving the presentation, it goes better if I've minimized all of the other things on my computer. But good evening, and thank you so much for having us. I'm going to share my screen now and shut off my computer, and you can let me know if you see the presentation or when you see the presentation. It takes a few minutes.
Okay. I'll just announce to people that are on the call that there are 24 attendees right now.
"24 attendees and 12 panelists total, the people that you have mentioned besides the council. Total
Thank you,
12.
Mary.
Michelle, not yet.
Okay, it does take a few minutes to see the presentation. Oops. Have I been given authority for screen sharing?
Sherry?
Yes, she has.
Yes, you have been.
Great, thank you. Minimize everything else and see if that helps speed things up a bit. No.
Here we
there
go.
Here we go.
Perfect.
Great. Thank you,
All right.
Michelle.
Well, thank you again. And so our application for special permit was on behalf of the city of Gloucester for the East Gloucester Veterans Memorial School. The project is requesting special permit pursuant to section 3.1.6, special permit for building heights in excess of section 3.2 limits, as previously noted. So what we want to start off with is defining what 3.2 limits are. Oops. And that helps if we can move our screen forward. I'm sorry, it's just running just a little bit slow. There we go. So what you see in front of you here is the section 3.2 dimensional table for the R20 district. And in the far left column, you'll see that all of the required dimensional setbacks. In the middle column is what you have existing on the site today. So your existing non-conforming in your front yard setback. And on the far right column, you'll see what our proposed building is indicating. And you'll note that we meet or exceed all of the dimensional criteria with the exception of the height, maximum building height. We're asking for 54 feet, which is our highest point at the clear story. And that asterisk next to that 30 foot in the far left column indicates that the maximum height can be increased by special permit pursuant to section 3.16. So before we begin to talk about the qualifications for 3.16, I want to clarify what our ask is for this building. Our building height, that maximum 54 foot high area, is of our clear story. This is the area that identifies our main entrance and provides daylight into the main corridor of the building. This area is about 16 feet wide and about 90 feet long. To the immediate right-hand side of that, you'll see the cafeteria and gymnasium volume, and that's 48 feet in height. And as we move around to the left side of the building, the administration and arts area is 40 feet, and the majority of the building, the academic wing, is at 46 feet high. Now, in the majority of the building, there's about 77% of this building height is at 46 feet or lower. And you can see that here in the aerial view. So what you see is the far left-hand side is the academic area. We have a lower roof in the back, the arts and media center at 40 feet, the gymnasium at 48, and this narrow clear story area at 54 feet. So going back to section 3.1.6, which is special permit, there are 3 criteria here. We have to be consistent with the neighborhood character, not obstruct views, not overshadow other properties, and not impair utilities. So I'm going to start with the bottom, impairment of utilities. Currently on the site, there are approximately 3 overhead wires that lead to either site lighting or to the building utilities. So all of these wires will be removed as part of the project. Our new utilities will go underground as part of the new site, and there are no other utility easements on the site, so the impact on utilities due to the height of the building, there will be none. The new height of the building will not impact any utilities overhead or within the neighborhood for this building. Looking at overshadowing of other properties. So when we talk about overshadowing, that's towering or casting shadows on adjacent properties. When we talk about that, we look at where we've located the building. It's at about the center of the site. Our closest dimension to our neighbor's property is about 75 feet to the property line and about 100 feet from the building. And that's located up in this area here, if you can see my cursor. The height of this area of the building is at 46 feet, which puts the height of these two buildings at approximately the same elevation. Our building is down at elevation 48, and this building here is up at elevation 46. So the roof lines of these two buildings are about the same height. At the highest point of the building, this 54-foot high area that we're requesting here, we are 165 feet from the nearest neighbor over here. And this neighbor's elevation is 10 feet higher than where our property line is too. So we are approximately 4 feet higher in elevation than the roof line on this building here. And when we look at shadows and casting shadows, because of the orientation of the building, we see even on the day when we have the longest shadows, we will not be overshadowing any other property or building. So obstruction of views. When we start looking at the views that exist today, and if we were to ride in the Google truck here, as you can see down here, and drive up the street, we'd be looking at a building that's about 30 feet from the sidewalk. This is the building. The tallest point of our proposed building is back in this area here. We're looking at a building today, and we would be looking at a building in the future. That building would be 140 feet from that same sidewalk. If we were to move further up the street and look at the elevation of where we would be looking across the field currently, the eye level of the person who's standing on the sidewalk is at about 12 feet high on the building because of the height difference between the sidewalk and the grading below. And if we were to think about a building that could be built at 30 feet, which would be allowed by zoning, that would be right about there. So whether we're building a building at 30 feet or at 46 feet in this area here, we would still be looking at a building. Now, consistent with the neighborhood character, I'm going to go back to talking about our building heights here. The tallest portion is 54 feet and 48 in the gymnasium area. But again, the bulk of our buildings at 46 feet in height or lower. And we look at our neighbor immediately to the south, which is a 4-story brick building, and they are approximately 46 feet in height as well. So consistent with the height of the majority of our building. As we go further up Webster Street, we know that those are multifamily residential units, and they vary in height between 30 to 36 feet as on the lower part of the street, but some of them sit 8 to 10 feet above grade, above the street level. And at the top of the street, we have our tallest house, which sits at the corner of Webster and Friend Street, and that's about 50 feet to the peak of the roof. And that's consistent with about the highest point on our project, our proposed project, which is at 54 feet. However, this house is at elevation 60, and the proposed school is at elevation 48. So if we were to cut a section through the site, well, and I'll get to that in just a moment. So here you're looking at that comparison to the light posts that exist out there. They're elevation 46. They're about 60 feet tall, so they're about elevation 106 versus the top of that roof at the highest point, which is at 110. And if we were to cut a section through our building, you would see that the top of our building is at elevation 102 compared to that building at the highest point across the street at 110. So that is where we've described that we are consistent with the heights and elevation of other buildings within the neighborhood. Just bringing you back to the back of our building, and we are open to any questions that you might have for us.
So counselors, I think the most important thing right now is we want to anticipate what we want to look for when we go on the and actually see, you know, present on the school grounds. So let me, so Councilor Pat, what questions would you like to have?
Okay, just first, just to make a sort of like a declaration, a commentary that every application that comes before us at P and D is individual and different. And while this is not a public hearing for other people to be asking questions or et cetera, we know that we've had plenty of commentary that we've seen that indicates that, one person has gotten this and, don't do this or don't do that or whatever. But that's, again, each case is individual. And what I would like to ask is if you can go back and show on your shadowing. There was one slide that we showed on the shadowing.
There you go.
Okay, that is all. That shadowing is, my guess is probably at I don't know, sometime in the afternoon, and it's showing the shadowing that's going out towards the uninhabited area, adjacent to towards Route 128. And I'm just wondering if you'd be able to, without some extreme cost or something, if you'd be able to show a shadowing. Again, this is showing on the day that casts the longest shadow. If you could make available in your presentation, for the public commentary time frame, a shadowing that would show the longest in the other direction. In other words, the early morning or whatever time of the day, the shadowing would go towards the neighborhood. I'm not indicating in any way, shape, or form that it would affect it, but that's one of the things we consider is shadowing. And I'd just like to be able to show that the shadowing does not, obstruct anyone on the Webster Street side.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely, we can do that.
Counselor Holgram has her hand raised. Go ahead, Jen.
Thank you, Councillor Pat. Thank you, Madam Chair. Councillor Pat, your question was spot on, and I also want to, I guess, I don't know, maybe it isn't a question, but I want to comment that the area in which the school currently sits is almost like a valley. So there are huge hills on each side of the highway, and I'm wondering how the shadowing would hit the building and the surrounding buildings from the perspective of those hills as well. I mean, I'd be happy to just go first thing in the morning to the site, even before school is in session, just independently to kind of take a look as well. But that's something that I mean, I know that it's not relevant to the special counsel permit, but I think it would be important for at least me to gain that perspective.
Okay, thank you. So Michelle, in addressing Councilor Pat's question about some more times of day and stuff like that, is that something that you would be able to provide to us?
Absolutely, we can share a shadow model with all of you.
Okay. And is it possible to get that at a different time of year when the sun is at a lower point? Is that possible?
We tend to run them at the equinox and then throughout like 3-hour increments of the day. So 9 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock. And then I think those 3 pieces, and then at 4 or 5 different points of the year.
Okay, that would be excellent.
Well, I think it'd be perfectly fine in the sense that I think the shadowing will obviously show that there is, no shadowing on the neighborhood, or for that matter, even on the surrounding sites that Councilor Holgram has asked about. But again, I think if they show us on those dates and those times, I think that will answer and it'll clarify the point for everyone.
Yeah, that would be very helpful and appreciated. That was a great question, Councilor Pat. So councilors, more questions in terms of this presentation that we just saw?
I have no further questions at this time.
I also have no further questions.
Okay. Any other questions from anyone else that is on the call right now that is a panelist? I see none. Okay, so can we go back to the screen so we can see everybody? Michelle, thank you. Okay. So at this point, what we want to do is we want to talk a little bit about what we can expect. I think what we'd like to do is just have, I think after, in the next day or two, if you could let me know your availability for next week. I think, Jonathan, were you going to see if maybe Michelle could be here on Monday to just guide a couple of little groups to maybe 2 or 3 different groups of counselors, kind of casually. And I think Council Holgram might have a conflict, so she might need to do a separate session maybe on the 13th or 14th. But
I
I
think
don't,
we
If
need to
that's not, if
I think
that's
we
not
need to be-
workable either,
Yeah.
sorry, go ahead, Barry.
Excuse me. I think we need to be careful about discussing it here, since this is not for the public. I think we need to, set it up and contact the relevant people, because otherwise I think you may have a number of people that will just figure a time to come, and it's inappropriate at this point for this visit.
okay, well, so I think when I introduced the meeting, I was clear that this is not, that we're not required to have these meetings for a large amount of people. And at this point, because of COVID and the situation as it stands right now, and this being a school property, what we want to do is make sure that we are getting meaningful questions from any member of the public that wishes to ask a question relative to height. And when we get back here on our meeting in 2 weeks, any question that might have come up by a counselor, and we do not discuss on site visits, we are absolutely careful about that because we do not want to deliberate. But what we can do is ask any member of the public that wishes to bring up a question relative to height in 3.1.6b, that you submit it to any member of this P&D subcommittee, whether it be Council Holgram, Pat, or myself, or our city clerk's office, Joanne Sinos. If you want to just send an email to her, that's terrific. And we are going to make sure that we answer every question relative to height. I know, I think I saw a letter already from, if I'm not mistaken, was from Louise Palazzola, and she had some very specific questions. So those are the types of detailed questions that we would very much entertain. And we would ask you to all follow that process because we want to answer every question that the public wishes to consider. Council Holgram, you raised your hand. Go ahead.
Thank you. I do, I see both of your points. I do respect Barry's point and yours as well, Madam Chair. It's a delicate balance. The situation is pretty delicate at this point. It's a public property. People do have the right to be there, but we also want to make sure that we have an unencumbered site visit as much as possible. So I think it would be a good idea for us to take it offline. I've given you my availability. If that doesn't work for Michelle, that's perfectly fine with me. I know the area well, I know the property well, and I'd be happy to take the presentation with me and just kind of take a look around if necessary.
Okay, great. Council Pat?
Yeah, just to clarify again, I am not in any way, shape, or form, objecting to having the public ask their questions and view or anything else. And I encourage them to get in touch with us to do that. I'm just talking about this particular site visit, and in order for us to be able to do that, and then you as chair, obviously, as you have done in many other site visits, you'll put together the questions that have come from either our members of this subcommittee, the counselors in general, and the general public, and they will come forward for everybody. I just think in order to be able to have our meeting in the most concise way we can, we need to, set up this time at a different way. That's all.
That's fine. And what, Michelle, what we typically have done is we accumulate all the questions. So let's say that there are 3 or 4 small groups of counselors, right? And we will just accumulate all the questions only, because we do not discuss anything, okay? And questions only, and then we will give those to you in a format, and then we will put those up on the screen and we'll go through them and answer it. And as we need to refer to some of those slides that you've already shown, we'll ask for that type of flexibility, because we technically want to really have a rigorous conversation about height. That's all we're here right now. That's the only thing that's in front of us. And we want to make sure that we have a rigorous conversation about height. And I think that will be really helpful. So, so thank you for that. Any other questions, counselors? Nope. Okay. So I think we are, let me just ask Greg Catamatori if you'd like to say anything. Greg, you're on the call, a planning director, and you've been part of this process. Do you have anything that you would like to add that maybe we should have brought up?
No, I think Michelle's done a great job, and Bill Sanborn and I, obviously, we reviewed the application for completeness, and I think it's been augmented by, some of the displays of the specifics related to the criteria in Section 3 related to height exceptions. So I think I wouldn't really add anything more at this point, but I can certainly be available, for the future. I think, one of the challenges that we have, and we've come across this in other permits, where the city, probably back in 1960, when we created our zoning districts, we had schools embedded within residential districts, and we're kind of in a unique situation where we're applying standards which are typically more appropriately applied to 1 and 2 family residential units. So it certainly is not contemplated, I don't think, in the dimensional standards when you're dealing with a school or an educational use that is intended to hold 400 plus 500 folks on a daily basis. That given the educational programming that's desired by the district to deliver the service of education, just to kind of it comes up, starts to rub up against the standards that, again, are really applied for more of a residential use. But I think, Michelle's done a great job of demonstrating how, they've really tried to, compromise and provide for all the necessary things for the operation of the school in terms of parking and fields and the educational use, and really taking advantage of the topography of the site to try to centralize things and minimize exactly those types of impacts you might otherwise see for a residential use when you're considering height exception.
Great. Thank you, Greg. Thanks for being on the call. I know you've had
Sure.
a long, appreciate it. Okay, anyone else? All right, thank you, school administration, superintendent, thank you, Jonathan Pope, members of the school committee that are on the call, Kathy Clancy, Melissa Prince, Texera Prince, Michelle Rogers, Madam Mayor, Krista Carranza, Greg, thank you for being on the call. So you're welcome to go back and do whatever you want, or you could stay for the rest of our meeting if you'd like to join us, but thank you.
Thank you, counselors, very much. Thank you for your help. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Have a good night.
You
Thanks.
too. Good night. So our next order of business is Special Council Permit 2021-001, Cross Street, number 12, map 50, lot 18, GZO Section 2.3.1.7 conversion to or new multi-family or apartment dwelling, 4 to 6 dwelling units in the R5 high density residential district. And I'm not sure if we have an applicant that is here that we need to bring in, but we have, oh, we do. Great. It's Megan Breaker. And if you could bring her in, Sherry, that would be great. She's got her hand raised.
All right.
Great. Megan, could you unmute yourself and if you don't mind, put your face up on the video so we can say hello to you?
Yes, hold on, I'm sorry. Oh, here I am. Hello.
Thank you. So would you introduce yourself, and then what we'd love to do is have you walk through what your project is and what specifically you are asking us after you make your introduction. If you need to do a screen sharing, just let Sherry know and we'll authorize you to share your screen.
Okay, I actually am not going to share my screen. I'm still new to this committee process, and I thought that the presentation wasn't until the next meeting, so I apologize, but I hope to give a good summary of this project. My name is Megan Breaker of Klein Gardner and O'Connor. I am the attorney representing the property owners, Catherine Swagger and Joyce McAuliffe. This property needs to give a bit of a history to it because my clients are essentially seeking to sort of correct a wrong that has been 40 years in the making. In March of 1979, the then current property owner went before the zoning board seeking variances to get relief to convert the property from a 3 to a 4 family. And then go before city council. That relief was granted by the zoning board of appeals. It was not ever recorded at the registry of deeds. However, the property was then by that current owner subsequently a few months later in October of 1979 was sold to another owner. Construction was done during that time, converting the property from the 3 family to the 4 family, and then it was sold. My office reviewed the city council records and we could not find anything specific, but upon conversations with Bill Sanborn, it could have been that it was heard in 1979 and the records were just not complete from 40 years ago. It was then my clients then bought the property in 1999. Nobody caught on between those transactions that the property was never fully legitimized as a 4 family. My clients have historically always used it as a 4 family. They have, upon further review of the records from the building inspector and conversations with Bill Sanborn, it appears as if the relief was acted upon numerous times. There were several, certificates of rental dwellings received for the property. It was inspected by various city departments, including in 2007, the assistant building inspector came out and did a public safety certification of the property as listing it as a 4 family. So there is evidence that the variance was acted upon. At this point, my clients this year went to put the property on the market, received an offer for the property, and it was upon receiving the offer that the brokers brought it to my client's attention that the property was in fact never, the process was never followed through on, and it still is recognized by the city as a 3 family and not a 4 family. I want to be very clear for everybody on the onset. No one at this point is looking to do further construction, not looking to add anything additional, not looking to change the existing house, the surrounding structures, anything like that. We're just simply trying to clean up this in order for my clients to be able to sell the property, hopefully within this year. In regard to the zoning ordinances, because the property has historically been used as a 4 family, further relief for the property would not harm the public good. nor would it undercut the intent of the zoning ordinances. It would not be substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood because it's been in existence for the last 40 years. Obviously, my client would have a substantial hardship if strict enforcement was applied. Further, there would be no change to traffic flow or safety. The property has the sufficient utilities to support the 4 units. I'd also like to note that the property is consistent with the other properties in the neighborhood. It's a very small street. The houses are all very similar. This house, in my opinion, does not stick out whatsoever. They're all appear from the street to be multifamilies, 3, 4, 5. So it's definitely keeping with the characteristic of the neighborhood and the other houses around it. At this point, I'll open it up to any questions, and I apologize if I did not include anything, and I appreciate your consideration.
Okay, Councilor Holgram, you've got your hand up first. Go ahead.
I don't have any questions. I just want to thank you, Ms. Breaker, for your clear and concise presentation. I mean, you didn't screen share, but I didn't feel you needed to. You explained it perfectly. And I'm just looking at, the application again. I just pulled it up on Google Maps just to take a look myself because I'm not familiar with Cross Street. I've been down a lot of streets in Gloucester, but actually never that one in my 41 years on this earth. So I want to thank you. And I really enjoy this type of thing because it makes it easier for the whole community, just cleaning up this type of stuff. So thanks.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Pat.
Yes, again, I don't have any questions. I want to thank Megan for her presentation. And this is the type of thing that does happen. It's obvious, I've put it this way, I've probably been on Cross Street 20 times in my lifetime. I'm not sure what that says. Cross Street, a very short, one-way street going from the beginning of the extension of over to Eastern Avenue. But either way, I've never noticed the house. It has never stuck out. And it's been all this time has been that way. And this appears to be nothing more than a correction of the records to allow the applicant to go ahead and, sell to a new owner to come to the neighborhood. And unless we have any, correspondence from any of the neighbors, I noticed on there that on the application that the abutters were notified. And I would ask if we have any, correspondence, and if we don't, I don't have any issues whatsoever.
Sherry, do you know if there's been any communications from any of the abutters on this matter?
Nothing we've received here, no.
Okay.
If I could make one comment to that, just to add so you're aware, I actually delivered all the notices in hand and did have the chance to speak with some of the abutters. Just curious as to why I was walking around looking for their mailbox.
It's called the Pony Express, I think. We don't do a lot of that these days, but we.
Yeah, and I had the opportunity to have some conversations with the neighbors, and the people that I spoke to didn't have any issues. I very clearly explained to them that there was no additions, just looking to fix this little error and,
Okay. So I've got 3 questions, and then I'm going to ask there are a couple of hands raised from attendees, but let me ask my questions first. On the deed back that you submitted to us, I'm trying to see what page is that on our packet. This is at the beginning, not the deed, I'm sorry. It was the zoning board back from 1979, the second page. All right, so here are a couple of my questions. It talks about a paved driveway shall be provided to the left side of the property. And the other element here was a paved parking area for 6 cars shall be provided in the rear of the property. Do you know if those matters are still as they were back in 1979, Megan?
Whether it was completed?
If the parking area for 6 cars shall be provided in the rear of the property,
There currently is not 6 spots in the rear of the parking. I have had gone back and forth several times with Bill Sanborn and with the planner Gail Smith to try to get as many parking spots as we could back there with her. The plan that she submitted has 5 additional proposed spots in the back. There is 1 spot that's being utilized and has historically been utilized in the front of the house. After conversations with Bill, it was, went back and forth about whether or not to go before the zoning board first to get further parking relief, or to see whether or not further parking relief would be needed, because as of right now in the R5, only technically 1 spot per unit's required. And after conversations with my clients and Bill, it was decided that the best path would go before city council first and then get the required parking relief from zoning after.
Really? Okay, that's interesting. And I also saw on the application that your application was signed off by both the planning director and Bill Sanborn. So you've made contact with them.
Yes, I have.
So I guess my thought would be, I would like to get something in writing from Bill Sanborn before we vote, just to make sure that we have, or Greg Catamatori, one of the two, Greg representing the planning board, but I would like to get where they signed off at the beginning. I would like to ask them to kind of give us their approval for this.
Okay.
You're saying the approval on the parking, correct?
Yes, yes, but we're making a recommendation based with it. We have no reason to believe that Megan isn't absolutely.
No, I understand. I just wanted to see what
But
you're
I-
referring to. It's
we
the parking
want-
issue.
Exactly. So we would just like to get a blessing from both of those folks, which we request in the, as a result of this meeting, and then meet back here in 2 weeks where we can just go to that next step. And so councilors, do you agree that that is a good thing to do?
Absolutely. And again, each application we look at is individual in nature, but parking issues have been relevant conversation in virtually every application we have.
Yeah.
So to get that confirmation from Greg and Bill would be absolutely appropriate, and I'm happy to have Megan work on getting that to us for the next meeting. Sounds fine to me.
Okay, so we will absolutely do that. So thank you. And I'm going to entertain to both Jill Ortiz and Anna Williams. We'll take you into the call just to hear your question. This isn't the public hearing though, so this is only a question. And we really don't. So if you have a question that you'd like to ask of the applicant or the city council, we will entertain that. But if you're gonna deliberate and discuss it, this is not the public hearing. So Jill, Sherry, can we, Jill's hand is raised. Can you-
Jill has been given permission to speak.
Okay, great. So Jill, thank you. Can you tell us your name and your address? That would be great.
I'm Jill Ortiz. I live on 12 East Main Street, across the street. My driveway abuts Cross Street. And my question also concerned the parking situation.
Okay.
So I was listening to you very, closely, just to make sure that that might be addressed.
Okay. Great.
Because Cross Street is a very tight street, especially during snow events.
Mhm.
And if the cars are on the street and sticking out, I can't get out of my driveway.
Okay, that's really helpful. And I would just add to Council Pat and Holgram, let's make sure in the next 2 weeks we take a ride by the property just so we can see. And I think that will be really helpful. We don't have to do a formal site visit, but just take a peek. on that.
So, if you can still hear me, my house hides behind the big red house. So
Okay,
when you drive down Cross Street, you'll see a
Yeah.
big red house.
okay,
The red house and my house share a driveway. And
okay.
in my driveway is my white Subaru and a boat. And
Okay, so we'll look for
trying to
the-
maneuver the boat out of there. Luckily, I've had very nice neighbors.
Okay,
So just hoping that stays the situation.
okay, that's great. And what did you say your address was, Jill, just so we can,
It's 12 East Main Street,
okay,
but my driveway is butts on Cross Street.
okay, that's great. Thank you so much. I'm glad that you attended this meeting.
Very educational.
Oh, great. You can come back whenever you want to. We always try to be friendly and fun, so thank you. Okay, next is Anna Williams. Can you bring Anna in? Great. Oh, she's got a pretty rock showing.
Yeah,
Sure.
sorry about that. And I at present don't know how to change that right now. It's
No, it's
painted
beautiful.
glossy rock. Okay, thank you.
I love it.
Fine.
It's a firefly, a dragonfly. I love it. Go ahead, introduce yourself and your address, please. And don't forget, this is just questions. This is not the
Yes.
public hearing. Go ahead.
Absolutely. My name is Anna Williams. I'm representing my mother, Philomena Williams.
Okay. And what is
Who
your mother's address?
Lives
Can you
and
try it
reside-
again? Go ahead. We're getting a interference. Maybe you can just move a little.
resides in. Oh. 6, 8, and 10. 6, 8, and 10
We're getting interference from you.
Cross
Okay, I just heard Pencrest.
Street.
What number?
I
So-
heard 6, 8, and 10.
We are on the left side of the driveway.
Okay. Okay, I heard that. Left side of the driveway. And could you try telling us your address one more
That
time?
abuts this
Anna, see if you can walk a little bit to another part of your room and maybe it's just where you're standing right now in terms of interference. This is part of Zoom technology that we've all learned about, so it's nothing new here. So she's not on the screen.
Right, she's dropped out totally.
Okay. So I recall her name was she's representing her mom, who is Philomena.
She just went back on as an attendee.
Okay,
There
all right,
she
Anna,
is.
she's back.
Sorry
Okay.
about that. I got booted.
I know. All right, so tell us your mother's address again, if you wouldn't mind. Your mother is Philomena.
Williams.
Okay, good.
She
And what is-
owns and resides in 6, 8, and 10 Cross Street, which abuts to the left of the driveway
Okay,
of the residence you're speaking about.
okay, that's great. What is your question that you have?
Our question is that there is a very large water table in the back.
The neighbors were
of
concerned about
the-
run
Can you
onto
hold
their
on just
property,
a second, Anna?
run off the
Mayor?
site, onto the property.
Mayor Taken, can you, yes, thank you. Okay, so we're good. We're delighted to have Mayor on on our phone call. Okay,
No problem.
so go
So
ahead.
there
I
is-
apologize. I had 2 Zooms and I wanted to make sure I got to listen to this one. I apologize.
It's not a problem.
Not a problem. We don't have any issues with, the residents or increasing the residents from 3 to 4. It's always been a 4 resident building as far as we've known, and my mother's been here for numerous years. Our
Okay.
concern and our question is, there is a very large water table that abuts the back of our property as well as this property. And an extension of a parking area in the back of that property may upset the water table, thus forcing the water to disperse itself. It's a very large marsh. We're always struggling with it in the back of the lawn. There's also a drainage system that runs from the cross street side. There is a drain that runs a pipe that goes all the way to the back of the property and actually disperses it into the back of their property, into the marsh that
Okay,
has been clogged several times, that is pushing out the wall that is a suspension wall for our property on that side. So we're
Okay.
just concerned about upsetting the water table on that side, and that's our question, if
So
that
the
parking
question
area.
is, can the building inspector check that out, Megan? If that makes
Um,
sense to you?
That does make sense to me, yes. And I have actually, that issue has been brought to my attention. And just to sort of semi-answer the question and to give council members a little bit more information, the plans within that we've been working on to try to get the parking spaces would actually would be within the existing driveway as it is. We're trying to not increase the driveway, just sort of be more creative with where the cars are parked. And so that's certainly the hope, to keep it within there. And as I said, we're able to fit 5 cars back there as is right now. But I will certainly bring this question, I'll address it with Bill when I contact him.
Yeah, the only other question that we have is that driveway is a significant level higher than our property. And we have an existing chain link fence that divides the property on that side between that driveway and the field that my mother currently owns. And if that driveway is altered in any way, it may, just because of the landscape, cause, and we know that the fence on that side is a problem, it may cause some erosion down the pike that will come and cause problems in that area. I just want everybody to be aware of that when you look at that whole layout down there, because the fence is an issue and the water table is an issue, as well as the drainage. And so on that side, there is a concern about cars coming through, hitting our fence if the driveway is altered in any way, and actually tumbling into our property,
Okay.
because there's like a significant difference there.
So the question is just the leveling of the in the results of.
Yeah, we just need the water table and the drain and the driveway. We kind of need to know what's happening in that area because it's directly on our property line. So we're going to need to know, what the plan is.
That's great. So I think that this was helpful. It's really good to, that's why you reach out to your butters and tell them what's going on. And then we're able to have this conversation. So I appreciate that. So what I would like to do is, I would like to move a motion that we request a letter from our building inspector, Commissioner Bill Sanborn, as well as Greg Catamatori, in addressing the issues that we've just discussed, and that letter be given to us on or before our next meeting, which is on Wednesday, May 19th. And
I'll second.
Okay,
Second.
we had a second by Council Holgram. Is there discussion, councilors?
No, thank you, Madam Chair, though, for bringing that up.
Okay, so roll call, Council Holgram,
Yes.
Council Pat,
Again, thank you, Madam Chairperson, for bringing up the park. It's relevant all the time. So thank you for that, and I vote yes.
okay, great. And I vote yes. So the yeses have it for those for us to reach out. And Megan, that you can follow up with them because we really we'd like to keep this moving, right? And so if we can kind of work together, that question out, and that would be great.
Can I?
Anna, you're all set, okay? Anna? I think Anna's done, and she's on another call, if I'm not mistaken. So, okay, good. So
Can I just confirm one thing? I'm sorry.
Anna's got her hand raised again. So go ahead, Anna. We're listening.
Here. No, I'm here. I just wanted to tell you that I'm here.
Okay, all right, great. Okay, so Megan, summarize what, or any questions that you have for us.
I just want to confirm that we're both going to be reaching out to Greg and Bill, or is it just me that's reaching out to make sure they get the letter? I just want to make sure time-wise I'm on top of it, because I know you want to keep to the strict.
So I will ask through the city clerk's office to
Okay,
this motion that we made and get something out to them by tomorrow.
okay,
And that way you'll know that we've sent that. And that will allow you to go and represent your client. Does that sound like a good plan?
I think they like getting emails from me, so.
Okay, well, so maybe the three of us have a little bit more clout there, so, but I think, you know, this is, I think this is this is just, we're trying to work together. That's,
Mhm.
and that's really important here, and we appreciate you bringing this forward. We understand your situation. We just want to make sure that we cross the Ts and dot the
Yeah.
Is.
Yes, and I appreciate you guys, well, everyone on this board working with me, and I really appreciate how nice and generous you have been. And thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you for doing your job. We appreciate it. Just for the public to know, we still have 14 attendees on our call. So I think that item is, has been complete.
Okay.
So thank you, Megan. Come back again. We'll see you in 2 weeks. So then the next order of business is, the meeting is adjourned. Is there a motion?
Yes, I move to adjourn.
Okay, second. All right, I'll second the motion. We'll do a roll call. Council
Very
Hogan,
good. Yes, I did hear a second from Barry.
Council Pratt, yeah.
Yes,
Council-
again.
Yeah. Yes is
Oh,
have
Zoom.
it.
Oh,
Good
Zoom.
night, everybody. Sherry, thank you for doing tonight's call as our clerk of committees. We appreciate it. And Chris Carranza, you were first on the call and last to leave. So thank you for being here and for the 11 attendees who stayed through the whole meeting. Good night, everybody.
Night.
See you later. Bye.